Good evening, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started. I want to thank you all for being here. My name is Dave Beerley. I'm one of the counselors. I am the counselor at the very end of the alphabet. But we're going to go through and introduce everybody. But I just wanted to thank you for coming. There's obviously a lot to discuss, and just want to reiterate as we go through this process that something that I say to every one of my seniors when they come in for their senior meeting is I always remind them that you go through this once, we go through it every single year. So we're here to help, we're here to answer questions. There are no dumb questions. We encourage, whether it's from parents or students, we encourage you to work with us, and we're always going to be there to support you along the way. So to be specific, who some of those people are that will support you along the way, Brad is the tall, dark, and ominous man in all black in the front right there. He is the beginning of the alphabet. Next up is Jennifer Stout, waving. Next up is Teresa Exenberger, and then Connor. Still don't think I say Connor's last name right, so I'm just going to go with Connor. Stephanie McClendon is up next. Christina Taylor and Amanda Wavrin were not able to be here. Kendra Olson comes right before I do in the alphabet. There she is on the end. And then, like I said, I am Dave Beerley. I have T-A-N through Z, the end of the alphabet. And tonight, I am going to hand it over to our college counselor, Phil Trout, who's going to walk you through a lot of important things and share his knowledge with you. So give it up for Phil Trout.
Fortunately, the microphone adjusts, so thank you so much, Mr. Beerley. Glad to have you here for the introductions. Parents who are here, welcome. It might be helpful just to get an idea within the room in terms of our demography. Parents, if this senior is a firstborn, would you be willing, please, to raise your hand so that we can see who you are? I'm going to do a quick math. It might be 80%. Parents in the room where your senior is not a firstborn, you may in fact have already gone through the college admissions process before with one of your children. Could you put both your hands up so that we can get a really good look at you? You're like one of our new best friends ever. So parents of a firstborn, look around the room and make sure that you size up some of these experienced folks in here. My wife and I have two daughters. They both are college graduates, yes. Paying their own bills, yes. But it turns out that actually the experience you have going through the college search process or the college admissions process with child number one may not in fact help you much at all as you get to child number two, because our children can be quite different, so, or at least they were in our household. Here's our agenda for tonight. We're going to go through and talk a little bit about the role of the parent and the counselor, say a few things about students. We're going to share with you some data about the past couple of years at graduating classes at Minnetonka High School. We will talk a little bit about the specifics of the application process and share with you some trends that have been taking place over the last few years in the world of college admissions. We're going to give you a few important dates just to have in front of you, and then we're going to go to a show and share and take a look at the website for Naviance student, as well as a couple of websites that should be helpful for you in researching college costs, applying for financial aid and scholarships, etc. And we will have time at the end for Q&A. So the specific presentation itself is about 40 minutes. But we want to make certain that there's time for us as individual counselors to be able to answer your questions at the end. So with the number of parents who raised their hand with a student in grade 12 where this is a firstborn, okay, your relationship and your responsibilities of parenting don't change just because you now have a senior. You don't have to start doing things differently as a parent. It's still the expectation that you will continue to believe in and support your child, to have an opportunity to take an interest in their school life and in their activities outside of school, and to just have this ongoing relationship that you have had over these years as a parent to your child. There is the possibility that change, and big change, is going to occur. Some of the students are hoping to go to a college or university that is not in this state. We have some students at Minnetonka who are hoping to go to a college or university that is not in this country. So you do need to keep open the dialogue about what your expectations are as part of their post-high school planning process, and then be listening intently to the key words that they're using as they talk about hopes and dreams and aspirations that they have for the upcoming year. I do think that it is your responsibility as a parent to be very comfortable in your conversations about money. If you have specific concerns or issues about tuition costs or student loan indebtedness, the additional costs that come when a student says, I think I'll look at colleges across the pond. You have to be willing to talk about that. And honestly, now is so much better than in March or April. Front load those conversations about costs and affordability. As Dave Beerley mentioned, all of us as counselors, we're here to work closely with students. We're here to work closely with you as parents. Please think of us as an ally and a resource. We're here to help in this process. Our goal is the same as your goal. We want to be able to help our students find good matches. And if there are particular circumstances or issues that are at work for you, with your child, with your family, by all means, make certain that you fill us in with that. Our role as counselors, same as yours, continue to believe in our students' abilities, support them, affirm them. We see it as our job to be clear in communicating about deadlines and timelines. We are going to try to send you as parents a newsletter from the counseling office every month with some specific things highlighted that we know are coming up that may be of interest to many of you. It's our job as counselors to stay on top of our students in terms of their academic progress, not just towards working for graduation, but to be able to be a good listener to them as they share with us their ideas about post-high school plans. And then we're the ones responsible here at Minnetonka High School for seeing to it that transcripts, recommendation letters, etc., are submitted to the colleges and universities in a timely fashion. And we'll refer rather specifically to the yellow sheet, the Minnetonka High School transcript release form here in a bit. Now, I thought it might be helpful for you just to see a little bit of what's happened at Minnetonka High School in the past couple of years. So for those students who graduated from Minnetonka last year, the class of 2019, the year prior to that, the class of 2018, we had about 90% of the students choose to make plans to go on to post-secondary education. Many of them to a 4-year college or university, some of them to 2-year colleges, technical schools, and you'll see that we had a majority of students pick places that were not in the state of Minnesota. Obviously, last year when we had that thing called polar vortex, when we had that thing called April, that helped make some of our students believe that colleges located in a place other than Minnesota were going to be a good idea. I do want to share with you that in the last 2 years, seniors have on average submitted about 4 or 5 applications. And yes, we have the bookends. We had, by the way, in last year's senior class, over 140 students who applied to one college or university. And yes, we also had a handful who applied to more than 20. But on average, our students have been submitting about 4 or 5 applications. Here's something that is really interesting. We do have a certain group of colleges and universities that always seem to come up in the top 7 of where our students choose to enroll. So in last year's class, as well as the class before it, as well as the previous 15 graduating classes that I'm familiar with, the number one sending school for us has been the U of M. We send, again, depending on the year, 75, 80, 85, 90 students to the University of Minnesota. And nothing comes close. That's in part because of proximity to home. That's in part because of cost. That's in part because of the number of parents who attended that very fine university here in our state. Pictures of students in a onesie wearing their Golden Gopher gear. But what's really interesting is, and then the other colleges and universities that our students choose to enroll at in the biggest numbers, they're pretty much the same year after year. So the places that are always there in that top 7, UW-Madison, Normandale Community College, University of Minnesota Duluth, University of St. Thomas, Iowa State. And yes, we have some fluctuation at times. You'll see that last year, the University of Nebraska-Lincoln got into the top 7. We sent 20 to Nebraska in last year's class. The previous year, the university that got into the top 7 was Montana State. That year, we sent 20 to Montana State. Here's one thing that's really interesting. These 7 colleges and universities last year, they enrolled a third of the graduating class. A third of our students went to the same 7 schools. And yet, in last year's graduating class, they are now attending over 170 colleges and universities. So the thing that's so very fascinating for us when we work in the counseling offices at Minnetonka High School is our day is filled with appointments with students talking to us about their post-high school plans, and in many instances, those conversations are very different from one another. But when it comes time to select where a student is going to enroll, we have some clumping that occurs, bunching of students who pick the same colleges and universities. Okay. So one of the things that we wanted to say to you tonight with this senior parent program in September is that in the fall, that's the time when most students in this senior class apply for admission, and that's the time when you will be applying for financial aid. So for us, the thing that we keep saying over and over again to students is our hope that they will choose to apply for admission to a college because they'd like to go there. Now, this is a deep and complicated thought. I'm just going to say it one more time. We say to our students, we encourage them, apply for admission to a college because you'd like to go there. Parents, your new favorite question that you can ask of a senior is, tell me again the 2 or 3 reasons why you want to go there. This is especially important when they're coming to you for a credit card to pay the application fee. The timeline here to apply for financial aid begins after October 1. So the financial aid application form, the FAFSA, we'll take a look at it in a second, that opens on October 1. It doesn't close on October 1. It opens on October 1. And parents, because you have a child who's in the class of 2020, you will be making use of a prior year's tax information to do a financial aid application form. So that means your 2018 return, the one you just did this past winter. So you can do your financial aid applications this fall, right at the same time that students are doing their applications for admission. 2 processes. One's an application going to the admissions office, one's an application going to the financial aid office, but really the same timeline. In fact, in last year's senior class, they filed over 3,300 applications. As we were getting ready to leave for Thanksgiving break, they had just finished filing about 3,000 of them. So the vast majority of these applications for admission to college get submitted by our students in August, September, October, November, some in December, some in January, some in February, but the bulk comes in the fall. And for any student, any family that is applying for need-based financial aid, that financial aid award might be sent to you in January, might be sent in February, might be sent in March. It depends. It depends on the college. It depends on their process. It depends on the type of application option that your child chose to pursue in applying for admission. So this last item here I think is really key. The college admissions process is a process. For some students, it can take months. Again, it really depends on where they are applying. So please understand that it's not something for most students that's going to be resolved in a very short window of time. We wanted to say a little bit to you about the different kinds of application options that students have access to. You will have heard of the phrases early action, early decision. We're just going to clarify the difference between these two phrases. So early decision is the one that's binding. A student is required to sign the binding agreement form, which commits that student to enroll at that college or university if they are admitted. Parents, you'll be interested to know, there's a signature form for you that's part of the early decision application process. And there's a signature form that is there for us as counselors at Minnetonka High School. To be fair, the important distinction between early decision and early action, again, early action not binding, it may very well be the same application deadline, November 1, November 15, but the student is not committed to attend that university. They get to have until May 1, the national candidate reply date, to be able to enroll at the school. At Minnetonka High School, we do significant business with early action. In last year's senior class, over 400 of the students applied somewhere early action. And yes, that's partly because the University of Minnesota Twin Cities has early action, UW-Madison has early action, Indiana University has early action, and none of those schools have early decision. We did not have a huge number of students who applied somewhere early decision. In fact, it was just under 50. The other term that you're going to hear is regular decision or rolling admission. Regular decision is typically a January 1 or February 1 or February 15 application deadline. So there is a deadline by which the student needs to apply. And colleges and universities are going to send out the results, the outcomes, in many instances on a particular date, usually in March, so that there's plenty of time for the student to be able to make their selection before the national candidate reply date on May 1. But in America, the biggest number of colleges do rolling admission. Colleges and universities make admission decisions on applications as they come in. In some instances, we've got a couple of public universities just to the south of us in the state of Iowa where students hear back within 2 days. In some instances, they might hear back in 2 to 3 weeks. Again, it's not a specific timetable at work with rolling admission. It's just when the student's application folder is completed. So there are different types of applications. Students need to make decisions about which one they're going to pursue. And even as they apply for admission, there are different types of applications. So a student who is thinking about applying to Minnesota State Mankato and the University of Minnesota and Iowa State, it's very likely that they may choose to use the school application, the one that's on the website for that college or university. There is a wonderful application option from the Common App, the Common Application. Now over 800 colleges and universities that participate in the Common Application. And so the student who's thinking about applying to Drake and Creighton and Marquette and Gustavus and St. Thomas, okay, wonderful, really great news. That student is going to use the Common Application because they can fill out the Common App once and use it to apply to all 5 of those colleges. There is also another grouped application that has the term the Coalition. The Coalition application is a company that's just like the Common App, except that it's for some other institutions. There are universities that are on the Common App and the Coalition app, and they may have their own application. Students just have to go through and figure out what's going to work best for them. No college or university is ever going to say to a student, well, we prefer this one application over another. Never. They're not going to. So the parts of an application are going to include the application itself. It may very well include the business of having Minnetonka High School send a transcript. That's something that's being captured by the student filling out the transcript release form, turning it in to our College and Career Center, because that's how we then have permission to send the student's transcript to college and universities. And it's also how we're able to learn of their decision to apply early action or early decision, to apply using the Common Application. That's also where we're going to spot check whether or not this is a college that requires a teacher recommendation, who have they asked, etc. Many colleges are going to have all of this. I should probably change that. It's not many. All colleges have on their admissions webpage instructions on what's required at that institution to apply. So it's really pretty specific. Let's take a minute just to share with you a few trends, things that have been going on in the world of college admissions over the last few years, over the last 5 years. So for parents, one thing for you to know is, this is really extraordinary. Now, in 2019, honestly, there is no distinction made by college and university admission offices between the ACT and the SAT. Those two testing companies, the scores, the results of the ACT test, the SAT test, that's interchangeable. One is as good as another. So, I mean, there's a reason why at Minnetonka we have our sophomores take a pre-ACT, and why we encourage our juniors to take a PSAT, just so that they have some sense for their performance level on one of these standardized admissions tests, so that they can decide what they're going to do in the junior year, in the fall of the senior year. It used to be, once upon a time, you first had to figure out what part of the country your colleges were located in that you were going to apply to, and then you knew whether you were going to be doing the ACT or SAT. That is so totally gone. The other thing that has been really fascinating to see play out is the huge growth in the number of colleges and universities that have gone test score optional. These are institutions that, based on their own research, have come to see that that test score, the ACT test score or the SAT test score, is not the best predictor of success by students incoming to their college or university. And it's in fact the student's high school record of achievement. What's on the transcript? Again and again, colleges are seeing this. So now the number of colleges and universities that have gone test score optional is over 1,100. And you can access that list at fairtest.org, where you can do a sort by state. We are seeing a growing number of colleges and universities that also are building into their application for admission a self-reported academic record, where the student is going to enter into the application form itself what it would appear on the student's transcript. Courses taken in grades 9 through 11, grades earned in grades 9 through 11, and then courses that will be taken in grade 12. This has been really interesting to see. This is in part a step towards efficiencies by colleges and universities. They are not now waiting for a transcript to arrive in order to have an application folder be completed. And the data from universities about what happens in late May, early June, as the official transcripts arrive for the students who are enrolling, is so very affirming and reassuring. I had the chance here this summer to speak with the Director of Admissions at the University of Illinois. That's Champaign-Urbana. They also are a self-reported academic record as part of their application. They were bringing in a freshman class this year of 7,000, and he had to reach out to 5 to disenroll them, to disadmit them, because the information they included in their self-reported academic record was not accurate. It's just extraordinary. So we're seeing that at the U of M Twin Cities. Of course, all the public universities in Iowa now have the self-reported academic record. Montana State, KU, Rutgers. The place that invented this was the University of California system. So that's really an interesting phenomenon. And then this wonderful thing, the next trend coming up in the world of college admissions, that more and more colleges now are inviting students within their application to self-report their test scores and are not requiring the student to have an official copy of the test score sent. That's a growing phenomenon. It is, of course, a cost savings. Those of you who have a child who's taken the ACT, for example, and didn't have their official score sent to a college or university, and now is applying somewhere where they need to send in the score, it's $13 a pop for each college that they're having scores sent to. So this is really very interesting. Just one last item in the world of trends that we've seen here with some of our students who are applying for fall admission and get back a letter accepting them, but accepting them for January, for second term enrollment, for second semester enrollment. We didn't see that a lot, but it's an item that some colleges are taking a look at. This is in part just an enrollment management thing. It allows colleges and universities to have a cadre of incoming new students at a period during the academic year where they're going to have some students graduating and some students who are now going to go off and study abroad for a semester, and so they have the space. Okay, we just want to share with you a little bit about a few dates, and then we'll go to some websites. So we're so lucky in the Twin Cities. We have a couple of events that are coming up here. We always have a National College Fair that's held in Minneapolis at the Convention Center. The dates for that this year are Wednesday and Thursday, October 2 and 3. And some of you may remember that your junior went to that National College Fair last school year. We do a field trip with our juniors at Minnetonka High School. We'll be doing that again this year on Wednesday, October 2. I want to point out to you, there is an evening session on Wednesday, October 2 from 5 to 8. So parents, that might be an excellent opportunity for you with your senior to be able to go to the National College Fair, especially if there's a place that's on the list where you haven't had an opportunity to be able to go visit. For our fine and performing arts students, there's a specific college fair that's called the Performing and Visual Arts Fair. It's actually taking place at MIA on Tuesday, October 1, so at the Minneapolis Institute of Arts. For our visual arts students who are hoping to apply for admission to a college and have their a review done of their portfolio, Minneapolis is also a site for the National Portfolio Day program. MCAT hosts that. It's going to be on Sunday, October 6th. And we have specific information on all these events in the College and Career Center here at the high school. And the College and Career Center will be open tonight when we finish this thing. Friday, October 11, we have no school. It's parent-teacher conferences. But there are parent-teacher conferences Thursday night, October 10, and colleges have school on October 11. So that might be a visit opportunity for you. Also, parents of seniors, you very likely have been told this many times by your senior. But at Minnetonka, seniors do not have school on Wednesday during the MEA week. So they have that date off this year, October 16. Yes, of course, they have off Thursday and Friday of MEA. Everyone in the school does. Everyone in the state does. Parents, by the way, if you have a child who's taking a look at Gustavus or at St. Thomas or at St. John's or the U of M, oh my God, please, please don't go there during MEA. Please don't, because the whole state is off. Okay? That's one of the reasons why we give our seniors Wednesday, because nearly everyone else in the state is in school on Wednesday. So that's a possibility. We're going to do a program here at the high school in the Forum on October 23rd on financial aid, filling out the FAFSA, applying for need-based aid as well as scholarships. And then we've got that deadline date coming up for some of our students, November 1, particularly if they are applying somewhere early action, early decision. So for example, November 1 is the early action application deadline at UW-Madison. It's the early action application deadline at the U of M Twin Cities. We have no school on November 8. That might be a college visit date. November 15, also an early action, early decision deadline at some colleges. November is when students can apply to the University of California. They can't apply before November 1. They can't apply after November 30. So students who have UC San Diego, UC Berkeley, UCLA on their list, they're going to apply in November. They can go in and see the application. It's there, it's available to them. They just can't apply until it's November. And you might think, well, that's weird, but remember, it's California. Okay, January 1, that's a pretty common regular decision deadline. Some colleges are nice. They make their deadline January 5. They make their deadline January 2. They understand that it's really unfortunate to have an application deadline on New Year's Day. Some schools are January 15th. We love those schools. Okay. And then May 1, the National Candidate Reply Date. So students are going through the post-high school planning process with the intention to apply for admission to colleges and universities. That's the date by which they need to make their selection. Parents, I will warn you, May 1 this year is a Friday. And we will have seniors who will announce early in April, oh, that's so great, I have the whole week. I can just decide, whenever, okay? We also, in the counseling office, will have students come see us on May 1 to ask if the deadline to reply is Central Time or another time. And then June 9th, that wonderful, glorious day, mark your calendars, US Bank, okay? So we had some handouts with tonight's presentation. We have our post-high school planning guidebook. This is also online in our counseling web pages. We had a date-specific list of colleges and universities that are coming to visit Minnetonka High School. This is an extraordinary resource that's made available to our students in grades 11 and 12. And yes, rightly or wrongly, we've only been able to fit the visits here up through October 9 on this sheet. But parents, please understand. So these are college and universities that are sending an admissions rep here to Minnetonka High School for a class period to be able to meet with students who are interested in learning more about their college. Okay, it's a phenomenal opportunity that students have. And if you see a couple of names here on this list, please by all means point that out to your child. The transcript release form is what they turn into us. That's what helps get things in gear for us in terms of sending the transcript or sending a counselor recommendation letter or sending a teacher recommendation letter. And we've got the instructions here right in the sheet on how to apply. These are the nuts and bolts that our counselors went over with seniors on Friday, this past Friday, in a senior seminar that we were doing every period of the day in the Forum as a pullout from their English class. Okay. Now we just want to be able to go to a few of these websites that we've mentioned. So we have said several times the Naviance website. Every student in the school has access to Naviance. It's part of their My Single Sign-On. Parents, you also have the opportunity to have access to Naviance. You can do so with your child. You can do so with your own account. where you're then able to look at the information that's there with your child. If you have never been on the Naviance webpage and you have time, it just takes 1 minute, but when you leave here tonight, go to the College and Career Center. We'll give you your registration information that you only have to use once the first time that you're logging in. So here's a sample student at Minnetonka High School in the senior class, Sam Skipper, and this is his Naviance page. By the way, that list of all the colleges and universities that are coming to visit, that's always right here on the home page in Naviance, and it's a big list. But in part, that's because of some of these national events that take place here in the Twin Cities. Colleges are here, and they want to come to Minnetonka High School as part of it. While I'm on this home page in Naviance, I do want to scroll down to the bottom. I just want to, which is going to take a while because I had college visits coming. But I want to be able to show you, here's this fantastic resource that's available for free to students in terms of test prep. So Method Test Prep has practice questions and sections in it on the ACT and the SAT. They do have to register just the first time that they go onto this account, but it's available to them 24/7, and it's really an extraordinary resource that our students have access to. And yes, there are some students who are only going to do that test prep if you've signed them up for a course. But for those students who have a self-starter component, please, by all means, let's have them make use of and take advantage of the information that's there in Method Test Prep. So let's go to this section here in Naviance Student about colleges I'm applying to. So Sam Skipper has been working on some college applications. You'll see that he has a list. It includes some places in other states. It includes some places that he's applying to early action or priority, okay? And we're seeing this sort of red item up here at the top called Match Accounts. So I want to just go here in these instructions that are on the transcript release form, because this is a fairly common item that our students have questions about. It says in number 2, are you using the Common App? If yes, you need to complete the FERPA release form in your Common App account. Well, so good news. This website called the Common App, here's what it looks like. It's just commonapp.org. And students go to it. They have to create an account. Sam Skipper has done that. Sam Skipper, that's very interesting. Sam Skipper's email is collegeguy@minnetonkaschools.org. At any rate, so Sam has been working on his application. The common application has 6 sections. It's very Pavlovian because as a student finishes the section, in one of the 6 sections, the student gets a green check mark. It's just wonderful. Parents, your new favorite question if you have a child who's using the common application to apply for admission to a university or to some colleges is, so how many green check marks do you have? Okay, that's better than, so how you coming on the application? Because you know the answer to that will be good. Okay, so, but let's just go back. So in our dashboard, we're going to see, by the way, one thing, the Common App is really user-friendly. I mean, it is. In the dashboard, it lets you know, like, for example, is there an additional essay? Is there a supplement that's required? So here's Dartmouth. Yep, there's an additional essay that's required. Here's University of Chicago. Of course, there's an additional essay that's required, okay? Parents of seniors, sometimes you'll pick up on the fact that your child is no longer talking about a college or university that they were talking about all last year. And you're sort of wondering, what happened? Why did that college just disappear? And in many instances, it's because the student has now done some research about applying and has found out that they have to write 4 essays. That happens, okay? I'm just going to, for 3 minutes here tonight, I'm just going to take you through Sam Skipper, who we know is going to apply to DePaul. Now what's interesting is he's taken the time in his Common App for DePaul to say, I'm applying early action. So Common App lets him know that he has 59 days until the deadline, okay? So we're going to go back to this sheet. If you're applying using the Common App, you need to complete the FERPA release form. Okay, so let's go to one of his colleges. How about DePaul? And we're going to be able to see right away in this column here, recommenders and FERPA. So Sam just has to click on the FERPA release form. He's going to complete the FERPA authorization. He's going to read every word that's on this page, check the box that says, yes, I've read every word on this page. He's going to check the box which says, I acknowledge that I'm going to do this. He's going to check the circle that says, I waive my rights. And he's going to type in his name and the date. He does that once, and then he has completed the FERPA release form. He's then going to go to his Naviance account, see the next item in Naviance under the Colleges tab. All right, we're going to go to Naviance in the Colleges I'm applying to tab, and there it is, match the accounts, where Sam is just going to type in the email address he's been using for his Common App and confirm that this is his birth date. He just has to do this once. And then his Common App account has been linked, has been synced, has been matched to his Naviance account. Because Minnetonka High School is a Naviance user, that's how we send transcripts. That's how we send counselor letters. That's how we send teacher recommendation letters. Again, to those colleges or universities that require those things. The majority of colleges and universities don't require recommendations. A minority of colleges and universities require recommendations. But that's how we do it. For students who find that they're applying for admission to a college that requires a counselor letter, the students are going to do the senior questionnaire that's in Naviance Student. All right. Well, let's just be Sam Skipper for one more instance, and let's go to the About Me. It says go to the About Me section. So we can go to the About Me, and boom, right there, senior questionnaire. Student's going to click on this and fill this out one time. And the counselor is going to use the information in this senior questionnaire for a meeting with the student, so that there's a nice background of information available to the counselor to be able to do the form as part of a counselor. Okay. Now, I want to go back to DePaul. So let's just say, for example, that Sam Skipper knows he's going to apply to DePaul. And in the admissions webpage, he's going to be able to see that he can apply early action, he can apply regular decision. Parents, what I want you to see is there's a treasure trove of information that's available to you on colleges and universities in terms of cost, projected cost, estimated cost, number of students who are receiving merit scholarships, the kinds of need-based financial aid award that a college or university is giving. So I just want you to see that when your child is telling you about a particular college or university that they're thinking about applying to, I really want to encourage you to then do some research from your end on the college cost and affordability line. So here's DePaul University. In their admissions and aid section, they have a whole section on scholarships. So it's really very interesting to see that they break it down. They tell us about the DePaul grants that are academic scholarships. They tell us about the service and leadership scholarships. So scholarships that don't have anything to do with a student's GPA, because DePaul does some extraordinary scholarships to students who are very active and very committed in their community service and church projects, okay? DePaul is a university that has a phenomenal music, theater program, studio art program, and so they allow for students to audition and compete for scholarships in that talent area, and they have all the instructions right here, okay? And then they have this section on external scholarships. So DePaul, God bless them, okay, but they put together a scholarship list that they make readily available to students and families, okay, and you can just see some scholarships are worth $500, some are worth $2,000, some are worth $1,000, okay. They do list all these scholarships in their order of when is the application due. And so the students, you and the student can spend time just going through and taking a look at this, okay. Now, one of the things that I want to go back to is that DePaul University also has on their admissions and aid website a section on financial aid. And in the financial aid section, yes, again, they go through and tell you, you know, what percent of the incoming students are receiving a scholarship. But they have on their financial aid page the net price calculator. And it tells you, parents, this is something that you'll be able to do in less than 10 minutes and get a real estimate as to what it would cost you to have your child enroll at DePaul. Now, I'm going to just tell you, those of you who have heard me speak before, you're going to know I'm a big fan of the federal government website, College Navigator. You can just Google it. We have the website in tonight's PowerPoint, okay? But it allows you to be able to go in, type the name of a university, and get a lot of data. Now, this is a government website, so it's always a year old, okay? But you can get a lot of data about DePaul University. So, for example, you can click on tuition and fees. It's going to give you the 4-year window that allows you to see, well, so what's the tuition rate been in each of the last 4 years? You can see what the room and board costs are, what the total expenses are. So a whole year ago, DePaul said that the cost for a year for students living on campus, $57,000, okay? But you can also go in and get the details about financial aid. What was the average financial aid grant being awarded? What was the average student loan being offered? And you can also go in and see what's the net price. So yes, the cost was $57,000, but on average, people whose parents had an income of $75,000 to $110,000 were paying $29,000. Okay, so there's some really specific information on cost and affordability that you as parents can go in and take a look at. We understand our students are going to go take a look at these at the College Navigator website. It's all data. Okay, I love taking a look at the retention and graduation. So what's the percent of students who came back for a second year? At DePaul, it's 86%. What's the percent of students who graduated? Graduation rate of 72%. And you can do this comparison with all of the colleges and universities that your child is taking a look at. Okay, so those are just some of the items that we were trying to highlight here for you. We know that you're going to have individual questions that you want to be able to ask. For those of you who haven't yet ever been on the Naviance website, if you have the time, I encourage you when you're leaving here to go to the College and Career Center. We've got the little registration information code number for you that you just need the first time. It's part of your My SSO account to click on Naviance. And counselors, we're going to just go to different parts of the room to be able to handle some of the individual questions. So how about if Connor and Stephanie, how about if you take this wall, Jennifer and Teresa, can you come to the front? And Brad, we've got plenty of room in the front. Brad, Teresa, and Jennifer here to the front. Who am I leaving out? Kendra. Oh, Kendra. Okay, oh my God, sorry, Kendra. And let's have you, Kendra, go right here to the spot in the corner, okay? So, thank you very much, everyone, for coming. There will be a videotape of this presentation tonight that will be available on the website. The PowerPoint will be available to you. And please come let us know what individual questions you have. And please consider going to the College and Career Center if you want to be able to pick up the information about Naviance. Happy to have you here. Thanks so much, everyone.